Hello, in this lecture we're going to continue our discussion of the logic of individual choice, the foundation of supply and demand, chapter 19. Remember that our goals are to discuss the principle of diminishing marginal utility and the principle of rational choice, explain the relationship between marginal utility and price when a consumer is maximizing total utility, summarize how the principle of rational choice accounts for the laws of demand and supply, name 3 assumptions of the theory of choice, and discuss why they may not reflect reality. Alright, so we're going to continue on with rational choice and the law of demand. So remember, what we're doing is we're basically taking some of the terms we've looked at before and we're quantifying them and using some formulas in some way so that we can more formally apply them into different models and graph different ideas about these terms, which can give us more concrete information. So when the price of a good goes up, the marginal utility per dollar, which would be the marginal utility, remember, the utility is the benefit that we're going to get from an extra unit. So that extra benefit that we are getting divided by per dollar. So the marginal utility, that unknown unit, but that unit that we are defining as the increased amount of goodness or whatever we're going to get from another unit divided by the cost. From it goes down and we consume less of it and its marginal utility increases. So what does that mean? Quantity demanded falls as price rise. Now, obviously that's what we've been discussing ever since we've discussed a demand curve. As prices go up, then the quantity demanded falls. As price goes down, then we're probably going to want more of it because they cost less. That's what we know intuitively. That's what we've discussed intuitively. Now note, we're basically saying the exact same thing here. We're defining that relationship. However, now we're doing it formally with this formula, and that can allow us to look in different ways and create different mathematical models a lot more easily. So we're taking that intuitive knowledge that we've looked at in the past, formalizing it in terms of this ratio, marginal utility divided by the cost. So when the price of goods decrease, the marginal utility divided by the cost over the cost increases, and we consume more of it, and its marginal utility increases. So what does that mean? Quantity demanded increases as price falls. So as price falls, we demand more of it. Why? Because if we look at our ratio here, we're going to say, well, the marginal utility is going to be the same for the next unit of good divided by the price, which went down. So the bottom number, the numerator, went down, therefore the ratio is going up, and we know what we already knew intuitively before: the quantity of demand increases as the price falls. As the price goes down, we want more of it. We know it intuitively. Now we have a mathematical formula for calculating it, so we can actually plot some lines and whatnot using that more mathematical formula. So rational choice and the law of demand, income and substitution effect. Okay, so remember that what we're talking about when we think about the law of demand is rational choice. We assume people are rational. They're making choices that are rational to them. We assume that if they make a choice, then they're on the margin. The next unit of utility or good that they're getting from the next thing that they are buying is greater than the cost. We have to assume that. We can't assume that, of course, that people are unrational and just choosing things randomly, which in some cases, obviously that may be if someone's not in their right, but we'll talk about that later. If someone's not in their right capacity, then it may be that they are not somehow choosing rationally, or we just don't comprehend what kind of rationale they are taking a look at. It doesn't make any sense to us. However, we need to make the assumption that there is some kind of rational choice if we're going to put a formal graph and diagram to this, and therefore, so there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded is due to the income and substitution effect. So these are the two things that are basically driving this relationship on the demand curve between price and quantity demanded. So the income effect is the reduction of quantity demanded when price increases, because the price increase makes us poorer. So obviously if something costs more, then in effect, if everything costs more, you can think about, then even though we have the same amount of money, we now have less purchasing power. We are now poorer. Meaning if we have $5 and the number one Happy Meal on just, any kind of burger place was $5, but now they upped it to like $10 and we still have $5, well, we can't buy the meal anymore. So we've just become poorer even though we have the same amount of money. That's similar to the idea of inflation. When inflation happens, we tend to be poorer in that case, even if we have the same amount of money, because we don't have as much purchasing power with that money. So, and then there's the substitution effect. So the substitution effect is the reduction of the quantity demanded when price increases because you substitute another good for the more expensive one. So if we're able to substitute something that's kind of as good but not quite as good, or is kind of the same but not exactly the same, so if the price of donuts went up, we go out and buy Danishes. These are the two effects, the income effect and the substitution effect, that cause that downward sloping in the demand curve, meaning that these are the two things that cause the relationship of, as prices go up, we demand less. As prices go down, we demand more. These are two ideas that cause that relationship. So if we take a look at our example again, remember our example where we had the Big Macs and the ice cream, and we say the income and substitution effect, and we try to explain that in terms of this example. Suppose that ice cream is now $2. So we have our Big Macs over here, which are $2, and then remember the ice cream over here is now $2 as well. Okay, and we're given an extra $3 to make up for this price increase. So the Big Macs were $2 before, ice cream was $1, now the ice cream is $2. And then how will you be spending change? Remember how we're going to rationalize this. We're going to say that we have a quantity here, and then of course we have the total utility 0, and then if we went from 0 to 1 in terms of Big Macs, and if that was our only thing that we could buy, then our total utility goes up to 20. And that means that our marginal utility went from 0 to 20, or a change of 20, and that means that our marginal utility divided by the price, so we're always making the calculation at the margin, divided by the price is $10. And then if we go from 1 to 2, then we're at 34 total utility. Again, you might ask, well, what is that total utility? It's an unknown kind of, it's a calculation that we are assuming that people are basically making in their head. We're trying to break it down mathematically into units so that we can then graph it. So we're going to say there's 34 utilities. What are those? Those are just units. And we're going to say 34 minus the 20, that gives us 14. So that's our marginal utility. Of course, it's going to go down as we eat more Big Macs because we want less Big Macs after we eat 1 or 2. And then that means that the 14 divided by the price, $2, gives us 7. If we look at the ice cream, we have 0, 0, and then if we went from 0 to 1, we have the total utility goes from 0 to 29. So we get a lot of total utility from that first ice cream. The marginal utility, of course, is 29 minus 0, or 29. And that's what it was last time. That's where we left it, because 29 before divided by $1 per cone, was still 29. But now they cost $2. So we're still going to get more marginal utility. We're going to take that 29 divided by 2, 14.5. Still higher than the 10, but it's not nearly as high as it was before when it only cost us $1. And then if we went from $1 to $2, now we are having a total utility of 46. That's our total utility. We're going to take the 46 minus the 29. That gives us our marginal utility. So from after we've consumed one ice cream cone to consuming the next ice cream cone, we're still getting an increased utility of 17 in this case. If we divide that by 2, we have 8.5. Therefore, what we're going to do first, of course, is we're going to eat the ice cream cone because we get more marginal utility divided by dollar than we do from the Big Mac. Then we're going to move down here and compare the 8.5 to the 10 over here. So we're actually going to go to the 10 to the Big Mac on the second item that we'll purchase. And then we're going to compare the 8.5 to the 7. Then we're going to purchase the 8.5 again, and then we'll go back to the Big Mac over here. So notice what we're going to do is each unit, we're going to compare our marginal utility. Now again, in real life, we're probably not going to make the decision of, well, I have this much marginal utility and then I have that much marginal utility left. We probably make the decision more intuitively in real life. However, we want to break this down into a unit measurement so that we can graph it and we can look at it in terms of graphs and models such as this. Rational choice and the law of supply. According to the principle of rational choice, if there is diminishing marginal utility, then marginal utility and the price of supply, something goes up, you supply more of that good. So same kind of idea, meaning that if the price goes up, then of course we as the producers are going to want to supply more of it. Now remember, when they say the price goes up, we're not the ones that make the price go up, because we're saying that we're going into a market that has basically a market price, and we're kind of price takers in this case. Therefore, we're saying, well, the market price went up, therefore we're going to go in and we're going to produce more of it, because that could increase our returns due to the same type of equation using utility. And the price of supply of something goes down, you supply less of it. So obviously if the market price of something goes down, then we would want to supply less of it. So opportunity cost is the benefit foregone of the next best alternative. So we've talked about opportunity cost before. Remember, what we're saying here is that everything has a cost. Now, it's got, of course, costs in terms of just financial cost, and we have to take into account the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost being the cost of the next best thing. So when we think about the cost of doing something, we have to think about what is the cost of doing what we decided not to do. So so the classic example for these type of class would be, if you're going to school, what's the opportunity cost of going to school? Doing whatever else you could have done while you're not going to school, which is like going to the beach or working some other job or something like that. That needs to be taken into consideration, of course, when making types of decisions. Those are costs that are not in the accounting books generally. So we got to add those to the financial cost usually. And the context of utility is the marginal utility per dollar you forego from consuming the next best alternative. So notice we're going to take the same idea and try to quantify it just as we've done before. We can think about it intuitively about the opportunity cost, and now we're going to put it into a quantity, being the marginal utility per dollar that we're going to forego, of course, from taking the thing that we did do from consuming the next best alternative. So according to the principle of rational choice, to maximize utility, choose goods until the opportunity cost of the alternative are equal. So if we're going to maximize our choice, then the opportunity cost of the thing that we gave up has to be equal. If the thing all are equal, then we are maximizing our choices mathematically. So we're going to say if the marginal utility of x, choice 1, x, over divided by the price of x is greater than the marginal utility of y, over the price of y, the opportunity cost of not consuming x is greater than the opportunity cost of not consuming y. So we are not at the maximum here. We can get to a better maximizing point mathematically if we consume more of x in this case, because we would be better off on the margin.